Masechet Bava Kama. Have a great week, everybody. Bava Kama Daf Pei Aleph Amud Beis. We are talking about the Eser Takonos, the 10 Tnoim, the 10 conditions of Yehushua bin Nun that made conditions with Bnei Israel when they entered the land of Israel. Yeah, there were 10 Takonos, 10 Tnoim, 10 establishments that he did. People should only live in this land, providing that they fulfill the conditions of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. The Shiur is Lunishma Tobimur Menachem Ben Akiva Ruth Bas Sholem Sora Bas Moshe Lerofuah Sayelad Yoko Noach Lionel Ben Yulia Oria Viben Miriam. Okay, Chaya. Wait, Nina Chaya Bes Gul Ochel Shmuel Avram Ben Yudis Bas Rivka Sora Bas Nechomo. You should know, before we continue, that these takonas may apply today. The Rambam brings them down, the Tu brings them down, the Shulchan Aruch does not bring them down, and then the Ramah says, why not? These takonas should apply. What actually stopped them? In other words, when you walk around Eretz Yisrael and somebody got lost, he should be able to cut the twigs in order to find his way. And when it's the road is impossible to walk in or hard to walk on the main road, you can walk into someone's field as long as you stay in the corners. And if you have to go to the toilet, you go to someone's field and you cannot complain and you can take a stone and wipe yourself. Excuse me, but that's what the Gemara says. Oh, this should apply today. Says the Ramah, maybe the Shulchan Aruch didn't bring it down because Shulchan Aruch only talks in time when many of the lands belong to Jews. Because most of these things have to do with ownership land, taking the twigs from someone, taking these trees, or grazing. And this doesn't apply today, but today, Tafshin Pei Beis does apply. So I don't know, ask your local Orthodox rabbi in Eretz Yisrael, or even heavily populated areas in Chutz La'aretz, yeah, such as New Jersey, Cherry Hill. You have to find out the halacha, what goes over there. The Yiddish Shtot, Cherry Hill, yeah, weiter. Well, when you're there, it is. Says the Gemara, the second wide line of the top of the page, not the very top of the page, the second wide line of the Pe'alef from the base. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Tlushin shebehorim. When Bnei Israel were conquering the land, yeah, bit by bit from the Shiva Amomim, from the 7 wicked nations. So if they found Tlushin, detached twigs and branches, or even trees, they were not attached to the ground, and they were in the mountains. I don't think mountains means to exclude other places. I think it means an area not populated by people, possibly. So even though those specific regions were owned by a specific shevet, were about to be owned by that shevet, nevertheless, they're allowed to be taken as part of the loot, part of the booty. Yes, says Rashi, there were shalal ve malkoyach. It's a metaltalin. Metaltalin are allowed to be taken because it's kilo to belong to the goyim, and we don't say kinyan chotzer as if the new shevet that's now acquiring the land, we don't say, now that belongs to them. But although it's not one of the Konos Ezra, Yehushua, but it sounds to be that's the way they functioned. That at that moment, if they found, as they came to the land, conquering it, they found a piece of wood here and there, every shevet can take it. It's not owned by that one specific shevet that's the new owner of the land, but it's free for all because just like the golden jewelry that they found or anything else belongs to everybody. But if it's an attached tree, a tree attached to the ground, still growing, that belongs to that shevet, something that's more intrinsically part of the ground. So just like the ground of Shevet Naphtali belongs to Naphtali, the ground of Reuven belongs to Reuven, so too, the trees themselves are part of the ground. It's part of the Chelek Kol, maybe Midin Kol Mechuber L'Karka, it's part of the Karka. So that already don't touch that. Don't start eradicating, pulling out the trees of a shevet that's not yours, it's not part of the booty, that's already part of the continuing land. I think the ones that are detached are more to do with a temporary thing. Right now we're at war, temporarily we're still taking away stuff of the goyim. The shenken, the tree itself, that already mechuber l'karka for hundreds of years to come, so that stays by the shevet that owns that piece of land. Continues the Raisa. Then kol shevet of shevet misrael. Yeah, each and every tribe of Israel, all 12 or 13, depends how you count. She'en loi, everybody has in every piece of land in Eretz Yisrael that was given to each and every shevet, each one contains all 4 types of topography. Bahar, each one has a mountain. Ubashfela, that's like a plain. Ubanegev, Negev does not mean the Negev. And that really got me messed up over here. Negev, says Rashi, is a place which is menugav, doesn't mean it's a desert, because the Negev, according to many opinions, is not even part of Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, some say the entire Negev, some say half the Negev. Yeah, but the Negev is not what we call the Negev. The Negev is not that, triangle in the bottom of the country. Negev means an area of fields, actually. An area like a field plain where you don't have trees, you just have, let's say, field of wheat, barley, cereals. So the sun is just there, hitting you without any mercy. It's a hot plain. Uba Emek and the valley. So you have 4 different types. You have the mountain, different types of plains, and you have a valley, which is below. Each and every one had, I'm sure some of them in the Galil had more mountainous areas and some had less mountainous, but somehow it was arranged that each one second, I saw you, I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, no, it's in. Yeah, so really, each and every shevet got all different types of, topographical things. Shenema, as it says, Pnu Sulachem, beginning of Dvarim, it says over there, Pnu Sulachem, go and travel, go already, Ubo Hare Moiri. That's what would have been if not for the Meraglim. You can just straight away go, Bo Hare Moiri, come to the mountain of the Emoiri, the Amorites, it's probably called. They'll call Shchenov, all the neighbors of the Hare Moiri, Ba'arovo, Bahar, the mountain, B'Shfela, all these things. Shfela is the plain, Ubanegev, the fields, B'Chofayam, by the beach, the shore, Bechen, and it says all different types. Maybe only one shevet got all that. The 7 nations that were there before them, they also, each and every one, also had all different types of topography in their part. They also had their division, the Knani, the Mor, the Priz, the Chiti, Gilgoshi, Shenema, Belkol Shchenov, all its neighbors. Alma, Shchenov Hachihavu, because it says the Har Emoiri and all the neighbors. So just like the Emorim themselves, they had a mountain and a plain and a thing and a beach and a thing. So too, Shchenov Hachihavu. So to the neighbors, which means the other nations of the Emoiri, also got all types of land, each one in his own part, in his own inheritance. And so too, we are almost double than them. Yeah, there are 7 and we are 12. It's almost double. So we too get, each and every one gets all different types. Yes, Rabbi Yaakov. What can be better? Well, you just came to Eretz Yisrael and we learn about Eretz Yisrael, inheriting the land. That's just on time. Okay. V'nifnin lachorei hagoder. 2 dots. If one has to go to toilet, he can go to toilet even in the field of a different person, and that other persona cannot say anything. One's allowed to go to toilet and even do big things in order to alleviate himself. Why? Because it's a sakana and it's an isser of bal tishaktzun. You're not allowed to hold yourself back. Behind the field, behind the fence. Even in the field full of karkoim, of saffron, the white, the yellow one, which is very sensitive, nice flower. Even there, you're allowed to be nifne as long as you're the corner behind the fence of the field. Says Rabbi Yaakov, that's not even a chiddush. It's not even a chiddush that I'm allowed to go to toilet in someone's field. You know what the chiddush is? You're allowed to go to that wall, where you are sitting behind doing what you're doing, and take like this little stone, a pebble, a stone from the wall, and wipe yourself with it. That's a chiddush. You can even make a little hole in the wall in order to wipe yourself with that stone, because back then, I'm sure no tissue papers over there, So then, and you're allowed to do that. Even on Shabbos, we're not going now to all the questions of muktzeh, but even besides muktzeh, Chachamim were mekel in muktzeh when it came to the stones. Because why? Because of COVID abrios. If you're in a lonely island next time, and you have to do what you do with a stone. So on Shabbos, generally speaking, it's allowed, although it's a very big sugya. It's a very big sugya on Shabbos, around Daf Pei Aleph. Interesting. There it's also in Daf Pei Aleph in Shabbos. So the chiddush here is even more than that, even greater. You're allowed to take a stone from the wall on Shabbos. Why is that soiser? Why not soiser? Because those pebbles are not really very well attached over there. They're there like, they're meant for that. They're like, like jigsaw puzzle, in and out. In other words, it's not what? It's not a what? Because you're not going to return it? Oh, no. It's soy-so. It's soy-so. Soy-so. Not mefark something else. Mefark is squeezing. You meant soy-so. Sorry, you're using the wrong term of demolition on mefark. Mefark is a told of soichet, is of dosh. Mefark is to squeeze out, like when you milk an animal. That's mefark. You meant soy-so. Soy-so is to demolish. I answered, and the Rishonim say, because over here it's not really very well attached to begin with. We're not talking here that he's mamash taking out and removing his man. Of course, I don't know if that's mutter stam. It's mutter only because you're going to the toilet. Stam is that you can't demolish things even ba'ara, as far as I know. Again, ask the rabbi, but that's allowed for that need because that even in Shabbos you're really in dire straits and you have to wipe yourself, and it's called koved abrius. Give me a second. Malzutra chasida, shakil umehada. Oh, very nice, very good, Shlomo. Malzutra chasida shakil he would take umehadar, and he would give it back. Yeah, in other words, he would be more of a chosid because it was a tzaddik. So after he wiped himself, he put it back. Because other people. He told his shamish, zil shirke, go and wipe it. Maybe he washed it before. Maybe cleaned it with a thing, with earth or with water. Shirke means now put it with teeth. Put cement all around it and stick it back to the wall, so it should be as good as new, as good as before. After I used it and hopefully cleaned it, you can shirk it. However, says Rashi, b'chol. Rashi says b'chol, because Shlomo is right. You can't be boin on Shabbos. You can't rebuild it on Shabbos. The rebuilt Yerushalayim. What? You can't rebuild something on Shabbos, and for sure not with it. That's already binyan keva. That's already a set, a permanent building. You can not do it on Shabbos. The assumption here, I think, what it means to say is the Marzut or Chassid was such a tzaddik that he returned the stone to its place. Not everyone has to do that. Basically, those stones are for public use because that's like a need that everybody has to go to toilet every once in a while, and that's about it. Yes, sir. The other tonight, Takono of Yehushua, one's allowed to walk in Shvila Reshus. So Shus either means a field. By the way, at the end of the day, we'll see that was from Shlomo, but that's besides the point. One's allowed to walk in his friend's field, stam, not because you have no other choice. You're allowed to walk in your friend's private field. Reshus either means where it's permitted, or reshut means rashut, which means authority, a field owned by someone. You're allowed to walk in your friend's field. How can you walk in his private property? Ad sheter d'ravia shnia, which means in the summer, nothing's happening in the field. Yeah, they finished already the harvesting and the collecting and everything. Everything is in the granary, and the other season, the wintry season, didn't start yet. Yeah, the sowing, the season of starting to plow and everything didn't start. So you have, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, I don't know, where there's nothing happening. So then for sure, everyone with his right mind would allow his friend to walk through his field. Like, why not? Nothing private goes on over there. It's not like him sitting there with his family. And that's not even a takon of Ezra. Takon of Ezra was to extend it until Yud Zayin Cheshvan. Until the second rain falls, you can still walk around, because until the second rain, the sprouts don't begin to sprout, the vegetables don't begin to sprout yet, nothing happens, doesn't really bother the ground, normally speaking. Amar Rav Popet, says Rav Popet, the Hai Didan, however, Rav Popet lives in a land called Babylonia. Rav Popet says, ours, in Bavel, afilu tal kashilo. In Bavel, it's different. In Bavel, even once the dew starts falling or forming, the dew on the ground, already then, once you walk there, it somehow ruins the ground, maybe gets too muddy, the dew and the footprints, whatever. So Lamaisa in Bavel, the permission to walk around someone's field is not extended for as long as you Zayin Cheshvan, but stops before that once the dew starts forming. Bestalkin, let's see the adrochim. Yeah, Mipnei Sedus adrochim. That's the next one. One is allowed to mistalek. One's allowed to remove himself and start walking by the roadside, which is really, where's the roadside? In someone's field. One's allowed to walk in the margins of his friend's field when the main road, imagine yourself 2 fields, or a few fields with a road, walking path between them. Okay. Sometimes this path has yesedus adrochim, like sticks. Now, what does sticks means? The land is very parched, I guess, and therefore it's very rocky or it's cracked, and you can't walk there properly. It's hard to walk. Either there's like sticks sticking out, of mud, or sometimes the land is cracked, like in the summer. So it's hard to walk in the main part of the field of the path. So in order to avoid that very rocky, crazy road, the twisted road, you walk by the path of the end of your friend's field, as long as you obviously try to make sure that you're not stepping on any tomatoes or anything else. So that's one of the takonos of Tnoim of Yehoshua. Shmuel v'Rav Yehuda. This is a story for people who want to be frumer than their own rabbi. Favorite of mine. Shmuel v'Rav Yehuda. Shmuel v'Rav Yehuda. No, not this one. The next one. Shmuel v'Rav Yehuda havu shakli v'azli be'ucha. Shmuel and Rav Yehuda were walking down the path. Have a mistalik Shmuel etzida adrochim. Shmuel would all of a sudden walk when he saw the road got a bit rocky, tricky. He started walking on the side of the road in his friend's field. Amar Rav Yehuda told him, Tnoin shehitna Yehoshua afilu beBavel. Are Yehoshua's Tnoim, do they apply in Bavel? Do those Tnoim apply in Bavel? We're in Bavel, not in Eretz Yisrael, and Yehoshua gave Eretz Yisrael to the Eden. Not only Bavel, also b'chutz la'aretz, right? You thought it was a joke. I said America or chutz la'aretz, right? So here we see Bavel was heavily populated with Yidden. Yeah, Bavel, says Rashi, there are many shayoros, ovrim, v'shovim. There are a lot of people. It's very heavily populated with Yiddish people. Yeah, tri-state area, basically. That's Bavel. And chutz la'aretz is what? Is Midwest. Yeah, chutz la'aretz is a place with less Yidden. So even in chutz la'aretz, wherever Jews live, you have the same takana. As long as you have enough Yidden living there, the rules apply. And one of the rules is that you don't have to walk, don't suffer through walking in the rickety road. Another Yid should allow his fellow Yid to walk through his field. Apparently, I heard there's big differences in America and England. By Goyim, apparently it's very regional. Some places in the world, I once heard it on the radio. One of the only things I heard on the radio was in some places in the world, you walk in someone's field, you're in a sakana of being shot. In other places, you can walk like chofshi. So whatever. That's what I've heard. So by us, you should allow to. By the way, don't confuse the two things. One takana is you're allowed to walk freely through the field, completely chofshi. That's when it's summary until it's on cheshvan. The other takana is you can't just walk all the way through this field, but even at any season of the year, if the middle path is hard to walk in, is difficult, then you can walk. But as long as you keep yourself to the margins of the field. That's another takana. Here's a story about the people who want to be frumer than the rabbi. Oh, Rabbi and Rabbi Chia. Rabbi and Rabbi Chia, they were very, very great people. Who was Rabbi? Rabbi, the author of the Mishnah, Rabbi Chia. Talmud. Rabbi Chia was the time of Rabbi. Avushakli v'azli be'ucha. They were walking in a path. The path was the path between fields. At some point, it got difficult. So they used the right to walk through, not through, to walk alongside, to walk by the margins of someone's field, of Reuben, Shimon's field. But then all of a sudden, they saw somebody, Avaka Mafsia ve'azil, Rabbi Yehuda ben Kinusa or Nikusa, some say, Kamayu. Mafsia ve'azil, Rabbi Yehuda ben Kinusa or Nikusa, which was less choshev than them, which was like a Talmud, which was a Talmud of Rabbi Chia, he started walking ahead of them in the middle of the path. He did not use his rights to do what Yehoshua said. He was kilu machmir on himself not to walk in someone's field, but he suffered the hard way, the hard road, the middle road, in order to avoid going into someone's field. So I would say that's very nice. Yeah, he wants to be super extra careful with someone else's fields, the rights, and kept walking the more difficult way in the middle. Rabbi did not like it. Who is this who's showing his greatness in front of us? Meaning, they were the two unquestionable Gedol Ador. And now this is somebody whom they did not recognize because it was in front of them, probably like a talist, like they always make them in the pictures and the cartoons, They couldn't see his face. Who is this person who tries to show that he is frumer than us? Says Rashi, he shows us that he's superior Shemaim. And he's not concerned about Yehoshua. He's frumer than that. That looks like arrogance, and arrogance is also, especially when you do it befanenu, in front of us, right? Somebody imagines that Rabbi so-and-so introducing somebody to Yiddishkeit, and that person didn't know Aleph Beis, and he barely knew he was Jewish. Okay, so Rabbi X makes him frum, and then the guy 2 years later comes to this rabbi's house, and he's like, I'm not saying it's usher, but I don't understand. If the Haredi home, you separate the yogurts. Your Laner Shal Mazal Manerbach needs to make, says the guy who you made from 2 years ago. It's very nice. Ach Shadoro. Omer Reb Chia, so says Reb Chia to who? To Rebbe. Shem Rabbi Yehuda ben Kinusa Talmidihu. Maybe, we don't know, maybe it's my Talmid, Rabbi Yehuda ben Kinusa, my Talmid. He's genuine, he's real. I know he's not doing it to show his extra frumkeit, to show that he's frumer than everybody else. He's really a very echte, ehrliche guy, for sure. He's real. Kimatu lagabei. Eventually they, how do I say, overtook him. Yeah, they overtook at some point. Yeah. Very good. You're fair. They walk faster than him because he had to, Rashi says he had to like jump and like skip between the different holes, and they were quicker. And they saw him, and they saw really it was him. It was a real tzaddik, the genuine one, who was not trying to play games and play the frumkeit competition. And they saw it was Rabbi Yehuda ben Kinusa or Nikusa, Omer Lei, but Rabbi told him, Ilav Yehuda ben Kinusat, if it wouldn't have been you and you're real, Gazatino l'shakach, I would have smote, I would have hit your shock, your legs, the Gizra de Parzela, with an iron, how do they translate Gizra? What? Club. Thank you. With an iron club. Says first of all, Rashi says nidui. Rashi says they wouldn't have gotten violent and actually hit him. You'd have gotten nidui at kedekach. The one who's playing the frumkeit game is in front of his Rav, unless he's very genuine and the Rav is moichel and the Rav knows he's really holding there, but not separating the yogurts like Rabbi Yashiv, while the Rav is more mekel like Rosh Hashanah, and yet separates the yogurts pieces. So then what? So then, if you wouldn't have been you, you'd be benidui. Wow. And the nidui says the Maharsha, mida keneged mida. Why did you call nidui the thing of the barzel? Because of walking. You were walking ahead of us, right? You were walking. Well, we would be, hitting your shukayim, your thighs, to show mida keneged mida. Although it didn't mean physically, but that's a metaphor he was using. Your walking is, not so rotzi b'fnei shamayim, unless you're real. You're luckily enough, you're a real guy, you're a genuine guy, so you don't get nidui. Yes. Yes, Bor. Halacha corner in the middle of halacha shiur. And that is, right, I don't know, I guess in other parts of the world also, if I've lived in chutzarts in different places, right, the yogurts in this country, they come in 2 or 4, 6 or 8, if you can call them yogurts or not, whatever, madan, right? So they're all together, they're all attached to each other. There's a mechloikis between 2 Torah giants, right? You can see I read ArtScroll enough because I know the word Torah giant. Yeah, 2 Torah giants, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Rabbi Shalom Yosef El Yeshev. Yeah, they had mechloikis whether you're allowed to on Shabbos separate the yogurts. Forget about letters, that's a different story. Let's say there are no letters involved. There are no letters that overrun through both yogurts. So then the yogurt cups, how do you call them? The Gvia yogurt, the yogurt cups. So Eliashiv, as usual, he's machmir, and he says that's called mechatech. That's called cutting to a size. You cut the size. That's the right size. You want this yogurt and not the other one. Rabbi Shalom Zalman says, no, you're not interested in that size. You just want the yogurt. It's a psik reisha. There's no psik reisha by mechatech, by the way. Mechatech is 1 melachot over 39. There's no, because the whole idea of mechatech is I want to cut to my preferred size. That's the size I want. I'm cutting a paper to a specific size. To have specification cannot be by chance. Psik reisha is by chance. And therefore, Shlomo Zalman allows it, and he says the company decided, Tnuva or Strauss, they decided, or Maccabi, they decided to have it that way, and you want the one yogurt, you have to happen. Eliashiv says, no, you want that, so that's called mechatech. We're not learning the sugya now, but that's a shal if that's called mechatech or not. Some people are mekel, some are machmi, just guess what I do. I'll leave it to your wild imagination. Good. Fine. By the way, never happened to me, the story of the yogurts. It's just an example. Okay, the Seder. Good? Yeah, the Seder. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Somebody who is lost between the kromim. He's lost between different vineyards. He's in a vineyard and he's completely lost. He lost his way. And he found himself either, oh, now you have to know the story here, either in the middle of a vineyard or in the corner. So a vineyard has a lot of vines in it, right? And and the corner and all around it is just you don't have vineyards. There's always like a margin, right? So now that person is lost over there. What did we say in the Brisa? Mafsik verle mafsik veyored. He's like lost in this jungle of vines, and he wants to find his quickest. That was hard for me to understand because something in the Gemara didn't make sense until I chapped it. He wants to find the quickest way out. Yeah. In other words, he could somehow circumvent the entire area, but he chooses to actually cut through in order to quickly find his way out, or what he assumes is the quickest way out. So he doesn't have to start, go to the quickest corner and then go the long way around all around the vineyard. He can actually cut the diagonal line to where he thinks is the quickest way out. While he's doing it, he's allowed to cut the twigs, not too much, but whatever he needs to cut his way through. Imagine yourself like a thick jungle, right? Like in the stories, he cuts his way through a twig here, a twig there, in order to find his way out. And the Baal Habais cannot claim anything because the Yid is lost. The Baal Habais is supposed to passively help him find his way out. Okay? Let's see now what the story is more in detail. Tonu Rabbonon. Somebody sees his friend lost between the kromim, between the vineyards. Then mafsik ve'oila mafsik ve'yored. He, the rescuer, is allowed to also cut his way through. He can hear a voice, help, help, help. So then he can be mafsig. He's a Hatzalah guy, helping the helpless person. Mafsig, like he cuts in and out. Until it gets him back to the straight path, to the city or to the road. So to a person himself, the person himself got lost. Nobody's there to help him. Only a Kodesh Baruch Hu, he helps himself. Then the person himself also can help himself out of the road, not out of the road, out of the jungle of kromim, until eventually he finds his way out. Zog the Gemara, what's the chiddush? Why did you have to tell me two stories? Of course, if that solo person can help Reuven, and in order to do that, he can cut through the quickest way, so to Reuven himself also can cut the quickest way. What Kol Sheken? What's the chiddush? Only another person can help you, not you yourself. So answers the Gemara, there's a big difference between that solo guy and the guy himself. What's the difference? One of them said, Chavera hu de yoda lehecha misalik the nifsug. That solo guy knows his way. So he's not just wandering around for 5 hours. He knows the way through the maze. That solo guy came to the road, and he's not Dafka Tzol, of course. I'm just using an example. He sees higher, like the Mashal of Msil Sesharim. Somebody is above the maze, knows the maze from above. He knows where he should go. Like the Rabbanim, Gdolei Israel. They know where we should go. So the person who knows the road will obviously cut through and get out of there quickly. He knows his way. He's not going to ruin half the vineyard. Avalhu, but the person himself, the lost person, the victim, the lo yoda lecha kasolik, he doesn't know where he's going. He's trying different ways. So if so, lo nifsog, let him not go through. What should he do? Nihadre beimitzli. Maybe as long as he can, at least he should stay in. Let's say that's a corner of the vineyard. Go round the vineyard, even though it's the longest way. It just stick to the side, even though it's much longer. Yeah, and don't cut through. Maybe you should not attempt to cut through. Nobody says you should get lost there forever. But maybe I would say, don't start cutting through diagonally straight because you're ruining my thing. Don't ruin my vineyard. Start walking very, very, very far, circumventing the whole area until eventually, most probably, the way out is an area. It reminds me of a park in London. Yeah, if you ever go to, I don't know, but I'm sure America also, in London are huge parks. You're going to, right, through one entry, yeah, like if you go into the park, you find yourself very, very far from the original entry, and there are like many, many different entries to the same park, which are huge, very far from each other. So if you stick to the corner, it's going to be a very, very, very big circumference, a very, very big sivuv to do. Kamash Malan, you don't have to do that. You can cut through, even if you don't know your way and you're lost, but you have some kind of sense of direction. You want to try, you want to opt for going the quicker way by cutting through, you're allowed to do that. What? Okay, there's the sun right here. Okay. In England, you don't see the sun about half a year, that's for sure. Kamash Malan. Okay. Kamash Malan. Kamash Malan, no, even the person himself is allowed to do that, even though he's lost. Of course, what's the chiddush when you tell me that the person should save his friend is a chiyuv d'oraisa to help your friend if he's lost to find his way back? The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Hashovas gufa minayin. Baruch should be happy now. You all right? You're very proficient in Elam Mitzias. You know that you have to be Meshiv Aveda. You have to return a lost object. What about returning a person to himself? He is lost. The person himself is lost in the forest. How do you know that helping your friend? We're not talking here about Pikuach Nefesh, Lotamad al Dam Recha. Actually, some Rishonim say Pikuach Nefesh, and some say not Pikuach Nefesh, but he's still lost. Eventually, he'll be found, but he's completely terrorized and shocked and not knowing his way, and who knows what's going to happen. So to return him to himself, return him to the path, how do you know that's included in a Shavas Aveda? Talmud Lomer Avashevo Isoy. Vashevo Isoy, return himself. Hashevo Isoy doesn't mean Hashevo Isoy. It does say Hashevo Isoy Loi, but the word Hashevo Isoy alone, if you read it by itself, it means return him to himself. Return him. So Mimela, what's the chiddush? Of course, that solo guy supposed to do everything and anything to fulfill the mitzvah d'oraisa of Hashevo Isoy. And by the way, some Rishonim say, or maybe it's Yam Shlomo, somebody says, also to heal a person and help a person. Yeah. How do you know you're supposed to help a person? You can say all kinds of sources. Apparently, that's a source. Return a person to himself, maybe to do tshuva. Return a person if you're a doctor, whatever, a medic, you're a tola guy. Any kind of help to offer your friend is under Vashevo Isoy. Return him to himself. Offer him a good word, good advice. So in any event, it's the Oraisahu. So what's the chiddush? Why do you have to tell me here that I'm allowed to go through and help my friend? Of course, answers the Gemara, no. The Kai Mitzri. Yeah, he's actually standing by the Mitzar. The victim is standing by the corner, by the margin. One would say only when he's by the Mitzar, I'm supposed to help him as long as I don't ruin any one tiny twig of the vineyard's vines. But come also who can Yehushua takin? Yehushua was metaken, mafsik goel, mafsik be'ored. Yehushua was metaken that you're supposed to help your friend find his way, even if it's in the cost and the price of partially destroying someone's vineyard by taking out the twigs. I'm sure not too much, but you can take here and there a twig in order to find your way, pave your way, even though there could be a longer way around. You become mitzvah d'oraisa by helping your friend or helping yourself. Next, please. Yes. Yeah, very good. Weiter. Okay. Umeis mitzvah koine mekoimoy. A meis mitzvah. Who's a meis mitzvah? Says the Gemara. Don't remember where. Shekar ben oinin. Let's say he would call someone before he died. Nobody would answer. He died in an absolutely lonely way, in a whatever desolate place. And koir ben oinim, say the meforshim, he means to say that even if he would have called, he doesn't have relatives to take care of him. Nobody takes care of his kavura. Nobody takes care of his kavura. He's all alone in this world. Whatever, his brother, sister, don't love him anymore. So say, where are your tears, guy? We're a tearjerker story over here, yeah? The kids of the mitzvah is nobody to help him. So where should he be buried? Nobody's going to take him to his kever ovois to be buried next to his family. So where should you bury him? You don't schlep him to the nearest cemetery. No, you don't. But he obtained the spot where his nikbar, you actually bury him, whoever finds him, akol kroivov, meis mitzvah akol kroivov. Everyone is related to him. Everybody has to help him because there's nobody else in the world. And therefore, as long as he's Jewish, you bury him in the spot where he died. Question from a Brisa. You find a dead person lying in Isratya, which is the thoroughfare, a main road, like Isratya, like autostrada, like a road, big road. Yeah, mafneh you mean Isratya or Lismal Isratya. You don't leave him there. Now, unlike what we said, he's not mamish staying on the spot. You either evacuate him, you clear him out, the body, either to the right or to the left field, whichever field you want. Now now we start prioritizing. Sde bu v'sde nir. Let's say you have two fields, both each one on each side of the dead person. One of them is sde bu, completely uncultivated. Yeah, completely nothing's there, belonging to someone, but no agricultural work done whatsoever as of now. Sde nir. The other one is already plowed. It's already been plowed. So the one that didn't do any work in his field, yeah, he has to host halachically mechuyav to have the dead person buried over there. And of course, you mitzayin, you mark the fact that there's a dead body there. That's how it's called tziyun, by the way. Why do you say the tziyun of Reb Shimon and the tziyun of Reb Melech? Tziyun is to mark. They marked it for Kohanim to know not to go there. Let's say the two fields on each side, one of them is plowed, the other one already zera, the other one already planted and has stuff growing. If an is denir, you clear him out to the one plowed. Obviously, very logical, you always clear him out and bury him in a field that's less developed. Less work was done, less loss. Let's say both fields on both sides of the roads, both of them are the same agricultural level, both nothing, or both plowed, or both already stuff growing, or Zahua is not even growing, already planted, stuff was planted there. Flip a coin, as you guys sometimes like to say, oh, here's your moment. Flip a coin, whichever side you want, nobody can say no. As long as you're in the parameters, every field owner is mechuyev to host the dead body. But that doesn't really work right with what we said, because we said, why don't you bury him in the road? Why should Reuben the farmer or Shimon the farmer suffer and have a caver in the middle of their field? While what? Why don't you do like Yehushua said and leave him in the actual road? Bury him in the road, and people will walk over. I koyanim. So bury him where? Bury him alongside, in other parallel to the koyanim, and make a siman. One lane is kvura, the other lane is for koyanim. Amarav Beivai. By the way, it's Beivai, not Bibi. Yeah, let's not get political. It's Beivai, just for the record. Amarav Beivai. Bemutal alameitza. He's like the way he was found originally, lying down was horizontal. In other words, klape us coming through the road is blocking the entire road. Yeah. In other words, let's say the road is 2 lanes, 3 lanes. This mace is blocking the entire width of the road. So now I have to move him, right? Because I can't have him buried and actually block the entrance of all the Kohanim and all the Chaverim, Acharedim want to go through without becoming Tomeh. You're forcing the entire population, want to go to Merkaz Mischari. Those of you know the history of Ramah Aleph, there was a big issue in Merkaz Mischari. The Kohanim were not allowed in Merkaz Mischari at the beginning, only if they went all the way through. There were Kvorim there, big stories at the beginning. That was just a chumrah, it was a real thing, until they made the whole thing over there to fix it. So then you can't have a road blocked by a mace under the ground as long as it's, vertically, horizontally there. So once we already have to clear him out, we have to move the body. We can't bury him the way he is. We have to schlep the body and change the position. Once you change the position, once you move the body anyways, you're not mamish burying him in the same position he died. Once you bury him in a different way, you might as well completely help the Kohanim not to limit their way in the derech, and you don't bury him vertically parallel to some area of people walking. You completely take him out of the road into someone's field so you don't disturb the tzibur. As we saw in many places, the derech harabim is much more important than the yochid. Yeah, shvil shechziku b'rabim also l'kalkeloi appears at least twice in Bava Basra. So once you have a derech rabim and it's not convenient for the kohanim, yeah, because it was this way and everyone would just can't walk through, because even if he's buried, the kohanim are not allowed to walk over a dead body, even though the body is in the ground. What do? You don't just move him vertically in the road, you move him completely into someone's field. Once move it all the way out of the road and don't disturb anybody. And that was the chiddush of Yehoshua bin Nun. Again, in order to help the public, so sometimes the individual has to suffer in order for the tzibur, the greater good of the tzibur. We don't want a dead person lying in their thoroughfare. Takonas. Amri, they say, line starts with Amri. Asoro, you told me you have 10 takonos, 10 tanoim. Anichad sari havian. We already counted. There are 11, remember? We counted them last week. There are 11. So why do you say 10 when you really have 11? Answers the Gemara. Mehalchin b'shvile harashus shloimo amoro. That concept of walking through someone's field, not in the corner, in the summer, to walk in the summer and all the way up to Zayin Cheshvan, to walk in someone else's field because it doesn't really bother him, that was said by Shlomo HaMelech, not by Yehoshua. So according to this, it somehow slipped in to the Tekonos of Yehoshua because really it wasn't Yehoshua who did it, it was Shlomo. Kedetanya, as it says in the Brisa, let's say someone's pears, someone's fruit, or many times pears, by the way, means cereals. The cereal was already taken away. It's in the granary. It's not in the field anymore. And yet, for no apparent reason, he does not allow anybody to come to his field. In the field, they just walk through. They don't bother him anything. It's just not wasteland, but right now it looks like wasteland, and it doesn't bother you one bit. You're not doing anything private. If you remember the beginning of Bava Basra, a field is not a private place. Yeah, you can't force your friend to build a fence between your field and the other. It's almost like the street. So then the person doesn't allow anybody to enter. What do people say about him? In shiduchim or otherwise? Yeah, what kind of pleasure does he have from his field? How does anybody harm him exactly? All of a cost of Omer. On him the pasuk says, about him the pasuk says, and that pasuk was said by Shlomo in Mishlei. 1 minute. Yeah, it says there, yeah, al tikri, which says, the Gemara asks the question. There's no such pasuk. When you can be good, don't be bad. Is there such a pasuk that says that? Says the Gemara in Sivki Hai Gavna. Yes, there's a pasuk similar to that. There's a pasuk that conveys that message, even not verbatim. Al tim, says the pasuk, al tim natov mi be'olov. Don't prevent the good from his owner. As long as you have el yodcho, as long as you have the ability to do, allow someone to enjoy life. In other words, even though you wouldn't say that that the visitor is the owner, I'm the owner, but why are you preventing people from just, enjoying life for no apparent reason? I know it's your field, but you lose absolutely nothing, but the other person walking there, that's a shtickle like zen and halacha, right? So if it's an apartment that's not for rent, you're not allowed to go there, lechatchila. But the evid, you don't charge money. You learn to daf chof, then it's a choser. A field to walk through is not even living there. He's not doing anything. He steps on the ground, doesn't affect you whatsoever. It's not like living in the house, which you feel he invaded my privacy, it's my apartment. The field. So why don't you allow? Stam, you're stomach, you're stom guy. So that's not allowed, and that's already by Shloime. And up to Zayin Cheshvan, that's the extension, that's the chiddush. Even though at the beginning of the winter, people can get already jittery. No, even then, said Shlomo HaMelech, you go up to Zayin Cheshvan because it's not so rainy yet, and things don't yet grow, and there's still no, people's steps don't really affect you. Frag the Gemara of Vetu Leika, are there no takonas? Is that all? Anything else, mister? Vetu Leika, are you sure there aren't any more takonas of Yehoshua? I'll show you. Va'ika. The Rabbi Yehuda, I'll remind you of what we learned before in Daf, I think, Lamed. I'll show you what Rabbi Yehuda said. Also, Rabbi Yehuda mentioned a takana of Yehoshua, the Tanya. Rabbi Yehuda says, in the winter, when it's normal to actually throw your zevel in the street. I don't mean to say all the Bamba and Beasley reps that we see in the street. I mean to say zevel as the manure of the animal, right? You can throw it in the street where it's anyhow muddy. Back then, the streets were not paved, yeah? So everything is mud. You're allowed to have your animal manure over there to throw it. Or the moitzi zivel reshus harabim. You're allowed to take out the zevel to the street. The tzoyver kol shloishim. You're allowed to keep it there only for 30 days, not more than 30 days per batch. So it should actually, you gain by the zevel being like, not slip, being treaded on by people and animals walking. When people and animals walk on the manure, I mean, good luck to them. I don't know, I guess they have good shoes. But when they walk on it, it makes the manure better. And then he uses the manure for his field, right? You don't think your wife would actually like to walk there, right? I don't think so either. But Lamaise, it was normal for people to do that. Now, some people may find it disturbing. And they would say, mister, that's not clean, that's not nice. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no. Yehoshua actually he bequeathed, so to speak, he split the land amongst Bnei Israel in order to do that, and that was the machloikis. Now, what happens if somebody slips on it? And it's like the Bor B'Shus Harabim. It's a question whether you have to pay. Says Shulchan Aruch, you have to pay. In other words, it's a Wild West kind of game. You're allowed to put your zevel in the street because it's accepted. People do it, and everybody needs to have their zevel. And most people back then, it was an agricultural society. You need your zevel also to be out in the street and be improved by people walking because you want to also fertilize your field tomorrow. So nice, it's accepted, but if somebody slipped on it, you have to pay. So, okay, middle of the road. But in any event, you see that Yehoshua had another takana, according to Rabbi Yehuda, which you failed to mention. Why don't you mention it in your big list of 10, 11? And another question. Before we answer, we start bombarding with at least 2, if not 3 more cases. Another one, another takana of Yehoshua apparently, is by Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, the Tanya. Rabbi Shmuel, b'nai shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, omer, Tnai Beis Din hu, there's a Tnai Beis Din of Yehoshua, that's a Mishnah later on. A person can go into his friend's field with no permission. Whoa. He can actually cut off a branch of his friend's tree with no permission. Why is that? How do you say a group of bees in English? I forgot. Bumble of bees? No. Thing of bees. There's a word for it. Yeah. Swarm. A swarm of bees. Bees is also a swarm. Okay. So let's say your swarm of bees ran away from your beehive. Yeah, they behaved very badly. From their beehive, they went to someone else's tree. Maybe there's nice pollen over there, and they sit over there. Now, if I start taking them one by one, it's very stupid. I take one, everyone else is going to fly. What I want to do is go very, very quietly and slyly, and without them noticing, I'll slowly cut the twig, cut the branch, and slowly take them while they're sucking the flowers. I'll take them back home and give it a good smack on the thing. Yeah, in other words, that I'm allowed to do. The noise and however, of course, I'll have to pay him for the branch. In other words, because all my bees went to you, and now what? Now I would lose them if not for cutting your branch. Now I'm cutting your branch and taking them slowly back home, and then I'll have to pay you for the branch, and that's a chiddush. Now, not everyone agrees with that. Only Rabbi Shmuel ben Broika. Tanakam over there said you're allowed to go in, but not to cut the branch. And another one, the Tnai Beis Dinu, another Tnai Beis Din. One is supposed to spill his wine and save his friend's honey. What's the story over there? 2 people meet in the road. They meet in the middle of the road somewhere. One of them holds honey. The other one holds a jar, whatever, full of honey. And one of them is holding a wine jug. Which one's more expensive, we assume? What's more expensive? What? The honey. In the Gemara's times, the honey is more expensive. Today, it depends which honey. Usually honey is cheaper today. But depends Kiddush wine. So then the honey is more expensive. And now you see your friend's honey jar. Oh no. Is like, cracking and about to explode and everything's going to get lost. You're supposed to be the, knight in the shiny armor and actually empty your wine from your jug, make it empty, and quickly let in his honey into your empty jug. So you're supposed to do that. You're mechuyev to do it halachically. According to Tosfos, he can force you to do that. He can take it. Why? However, he's afterwards supposed to be compensating you and deduct the amount. Let's say he then sold the dvash for more than the wine. That's all vort. He sold his dvash for 200, and your wine was 100. He'll give you change of 100, or give you 100 worth shekel of honey. So he will compensate you, but at that moment of nervousness, you're supposed to help him and gain his thing that's worth more. That's according to him. בתנאי בייזינו, שזה מברכס עצוב וטון פשטון של חברוי, ונויטל דמי עצוב מתוך פשטונו של חברוי. Similar story. One comes with a donkey full of just regular planks or pieces of wood. The other one has flax, pishtan, flax, linen, more kosher, expensive. So whatever is the story over there, the flax is going to get lost, going to get dirty on the ground. You're supposed to, the thing is dying, the donkey. You're quickly supposed to get rid of your trees, of your twigs, or your planks, and put the pishtan instead. And again, allow his more expensive schoira to be salvaged, and you get paid later. And Yehushua said, you can see Yeshua's takonis are all into being, very nice English word, mevater. Yeah, being mevater. That's Yehushua is all about that. Don't be stingy, don't be nitpicking. Allow your friend to enjoy life, and don't be so this and every twig and every thing of going to the toilet or every whatever. Why don't you mention these 4 different takonis? And says the Gemara, we did not mention takonis which are up to machloikes. If you noticed, and I gave you a hint all the way through. Only Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to throw your zevel, your manure. Only Rabbi Shmuel ben Yochai says you're allowed to cut the tree, the twig from your friend's tree, and also exchange the honey for the. Not everyone agrees to that. It's a machloikes whether you're allowed to go that far and cause a friend loss in order to save yours, even though you'll pay him later. That's right after machloikes. Raisa, which we saw in Amud Aleph, only talks about the 10 takonis that are agreed upon by everybody. Tomorrow, more about Yehoshua bin Nun Hashem, and then about Ezra, the 10 takonis of Ezra. Very, very interesting. Also to get today. Thank you very much. Tizkol mitzvahs, and welcome back, everybody. Baruch Hashem, v'shov bonim l'gvulam. Thank you. Oh yeah.